started because I think we're going to have a really fun conversation here. So, since Janine isn't here yet, I'm assuming that she's still under the weather. Darn, Janine, feel better soon. We miss you. So you couldn't be here with us. And since everybody who's on tonight has been pretty much to a bridge club, we'll keep like the kind of little intro part short and sweet. So Catherine and I founded the Bridge Club to help people in the veterinary profession connect and engage and learn and grow together over interesting conversations that kind of bring us together as a veterinary community. So that's the very foundation of what we're doing here tonight. And have to give a big thanks to Jane for helping us to champion this whole week.
Oh, you guys are the ones.
Conversations. Well, I mean, it's going to be 5 days, kids, 5 days in a row of feeling conversations and some really good stuff we're talking about. So it's going to be lots and lots and lots of fun. So I'm going to set the tone real quick here for the topic. And then Jane will ask you to kind of give us a toast to officially kick off our week. So the data and the numbers on feline health, right, continue to be disappointing, I think, for people who care about good pet health care. Yet this is going to be a very positive, care-centric conversation that we're having tonight, talking about what our cats mean to us, the kind of connection that we have. And then let's talk a little bit about our own personal commitments to trying to make this better for everybody. And together, perhaps we can come up with some new ideas or share some ideas that we see working other places. And so Catherine and I are really excited that we've been able to gather such a really connected group of people here for this conversation tonight, because Craig, this is your first Bridge Club ever, I believe.
First one.
Yeah.
Novice.
You start, right? Andy, you've been on a couple of them early on, but we haven't seen you in a little while, so it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, Diane, I know we've seen you quite a bit. Julie, thank you for coming back. Ralph, you've been on several of our conversations. So, Sherry, welcome. This is going to be a lot of fun tonight. So without further ado, Jane, why don't you start us off with a toast, and then let's kind of lead into just talking about cats and what they mean to us.
Well, sorry, Craig doesn't know. Gotta raise your glass, Craig. Just
I gotta raise my glass.
All right, yeah. Everybody raise their glass. And well, here's to a wonderful week of feline health. Cats need us. We need cats. And thank you to Brenda and Catherine for arranging this. We want to celebrate cats. They deserve to be connected. Andy, thank you for bringing yours, and I look forward to hearing many stories. So here's to Feline Health Week.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, just in time for the toast.
Yep. Okay.
Very important.
I know, exactly. Okay, so I don't know if Mark has himself muted or if we did that to him, but
I'm gonna unmute him, but I'm gonna first fix his name.
Now, here you go. Hi, can you hear me?
yes, we
Yep.
can.
All my friends, did you already toast?
Yeah,
We did, so hurry up, quick. quick.
Cheers. There you go.
Wait,
Mark is immutable.
so,
Ralph, are you in red
Andy.
tonight?
Are you holding your cat? Mine is just not, my two are not behaving.
That's hers.
Hopefully they'll show up.
Yeah, mine are getting to be video hounds. They like to be seen.
No, Natalie's home. My anatomy professor Bride has made an early appearance, so she might be able to deliver the goods, but we'll see.
Oh, good. That'll be fun. We'd love to see our fun cats. We know Diane doesn't have her cats with her since she's off sailing the Atlantic, so we'll miss seeing their little naked bodies going across the screen too.
There's somebody.
Oh, yep. Denise has her cat.
But
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yay!
Fuzzy cabooses. So talk a little bit, I think, Jane and Mark and Craig and Andy, pitch in a little bit and talk with us about just your own personal connection to your cats and like what has drawn you to them and made you such a passionate advocate.
They purr. So I've got one of those jobs where I travel a lot, and it's so when I have time off, I think the last thing I ever want to do is get on an airplane and go somewhere. I just as soon stay at home for a little bit and get used to the place. And I think the greatest, for me, one of the best ways to spend an afternoon is sitting in the recliner with, you know, one cat on my lap and one on my chest, and they're both kind of purring away. And it's better than putting 25 cents in the massager bed. So yeah, it's you know, I used to be a dairy guy, and you know, with cats and the dairy barn, there were a lot of them around. So it was hard to develop an individual relationship with them. And in this type of condo living here, it's a different situation. And I guess I got to say, I'm surprised at the way they kind of have infiltrated my life and insinuated themselves in ways that I didn't expect.
So when Andy, did you first start bringing the cats into the home? I mean, how long has it been?
Oh, with these guys, I adopted. I think it's been about 7 or 8 years now.
So they're quite at
Like
home.
that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fun.
they've only been indoors.
Which we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. Craig, how about you? Tell us your cat connection story.
Well, Gracie, my cat, which started off as my youngest son's cat, which happens a lot. We end up adopting someone else's pet. But Cameron really sort of showed me the way. I was, even though we had cats when I was younger, they were outdoor cats. And Cameron, when we went over to a friend's house, he had some barn cats at the place we were visiting. And Cameron fell in love with this one that just would not stop following him around. So we ended up bringing Gracie home, and now she's been with us for 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so she is she's an old lady that loves to get outside and pretend that she's still mousing. And it's funny, when she goes in the backyard, I walk in the backyard with her and make sure that, you know, she's safe and she has a good time, but I don't want her getting into anything that she can't get out of, because there are some things in the backyard that she can't get out of. But she's just been, for us, wonderful. And she was a big part of both my boy's life and now my stepson's life. So she's been around long enough to really have an impact on both families. So the story's been really a lot of fun, and she's a fantastic lady.
That's good. Mark, what about you? You kind of came into cats with Natalie, right?
Yeah. We have Oscar and Chloe, and I upgraded and married those two cats, and they're from the same litter in East Tennessee, but now they live in very stylish Scottsdale, Arizona. And you know, Chloe, you wouldn't know they're related, other than one of the amazing features about cats is that after 23 hours of disdain for each other, or at least basically indifference, because they're not providing each other food or any of the comforts they want in life, they then form this sort of circle together and just bathe each other and, you know, act like they're the best friends, you know, since grade school. And that quality always intrigues me. Chloe is like an Upper East Side Manhattan princess, and Oscar is like the class clown, you know, that flunked out in 7th grade, but everybody wants to hang around because he's just fun. But the thing I love about cats is that the only species more individualistic than humans are cats. I mean, every cat is, you know, you can't say more unique because you're either unique or not, but not only is every cat unique, but the manner in which they are just a complete personality, as complex as a 16-year-old girl, of which I had 4. And they're so fun to watch. I mean, every day they surprise me and intrigue me because, you know, mainly, you know, Chloe, the second after I do something kind for her, after seducing me into getting her food or doing something she needs, after a second, she treats me like, why are you here? You know, why did I hire you? Are you still here? You know, and you know, you're not going to be here tomorrow if I have anything to say about it. So you know, cats amuse one in a way that I've never been able to see done better.
Which I think is kind of fun. So we go from, you know, Mark, who's a newfoundish cat lover, I guess I would say. And like,
Well, I've had cats in my life, but I haven't gone crazy. Like I have to admit, the last 5 years have been, I've taken cat,
When
deep.
we asked Mark to be a part of this conversation, I mean, you gushed on for the longest time about how much you love your cats, which is so much fun, right? When you think you know people and then you learn things about them. Or you love them. Yeah, it really is fun. I mean, and Diane and Jane, obviously, you guys have been very engaged with cats for a very long time. You built your careers on them, really, in veterinary medicine. So what was the connection for you?
And Tammy too. And so I did not have cats growing up. It was all dogs, hunting dogs, and liked to visit my grandparents' farm where they had farm cats. And I always remember outside the kitchen door was this great big well. And at 5 o'clock, the cats would all run up to the well was covered and they'd all pile on top of the well because they would hear the electric can opener going. My grandmother would, kind that you kind of push over and pull the button down and it would spin the can around and all of a sudden these cats would swarm up to the backyard. Oh, this is the greatest. But even in veterinary school, I thought, I think I want to do mixed animal medicine and be a sheep and a small ruminant practitioner, and and then I got better ideas to focus. But they're just to see the smile on everybody's faces when they're talking about their cats and what they do and those intangibles. That's the thing. We can talk about the numbers of cat healthcare that is provided and the services that are met and unmet. But the intangibles that cats bring to our lives is it's remarkable. So someday we're going to figure out how to measure that and publish it and then scale that. So there certainly are enough, and we need more care.
Avery's certainly helping us get there. So I want us to launch into a little bit of a conversation just about the commitment this group has to making sure that not only your own cats, but other cats get good feline, get good health care as well. But before we do that, I just want to see if anybody else in the audience would like to tell their personal cat story. I don't want to leave anybody out if someone is just really wanting to share something.
Tammy's smiling. Denise is smiling.
This is it.
The time, sure away.
Yeah.
I think that almost all of us in the veterinary profession, loved animals in the first place, and then we kind of became more species specific. And I know by the time I was in a junior in vet school, I knew I wanted to have a cat hospital, and that was back in the 80s, and so pretty unusual. So very fortunate that happened, and now I've gone from a total of 7 cats down to 5 through normal attrition. And I bet that those here in this group have got even more than that. Somebody.
Denise, did you want to speak up?
Sure. Well, I have two cats and 2 dogs, and all 4 of them get along great, which is just the joy of my life right now. But I'm so glad to hear from Mark because my 2 cats are siblings as well. They're litter mates, and they're the same way. They literally fight like sisters, and then they'll love on each other. And it's hysterical. And I love the purring, and they walk all over you. And sometimes they're annoying and do weird things to my computer, but that's okay.
Very good at that.
Everyone can relate to that, I'm sure. Well, that's fun. So
Well, Brenda, I have to add something to that. That's perfect. I mean, Oscar, the class clown cat, he now has a 4:30 arrival. He gets off the bed at some point during the evening, comes back at 4:30, stomps on my stomach to tell me breakfast. It's breakfast time. This is 4:30 a.m. And you just
it wasn't PM. I was hoping.
and you just look at him and go, I think I fed you like 9 minutes ago. It's completely dark out, but obviously at 4:35 he's got food in front of him because you can't say no. But anyway, they what's the phrase, Andy? You were taught that dogs have owners and cats have staff. I mean, that is so the case, and I'm proud to be a staff member temporarily, obviously, for my 2.
So the first names for my 2 cats when they were younger, when I'd first adopted them, were quit bugging me and you wear me out.
It's really interesting because I think a lot of people don't realize how engaging cats are and how they really can wear you out, right? They're constantly wanting attention and playtime. So why is it, do you think, that people underestimate the amount of care cats need? And let's talk a little bit about what you guys have done yourselves to help try to keep that message going forward, because it really is pretty fascinating work. I think everybody, you know, on this Zoom tonight has somehow been engaged with making sure that the message gets out a little bit more into a broader audience. So speak up. Who wants to talk first?
You know, Brenda, I'll say that first is, you know, a pet owner, a pet parent, it's a commitment to make sure you're going to do the right thing and take care of your child, right? But part of that means that you have to be present and you have to make observations. I mean, because there's this misconception and misunderstanding that cats just take care of themselves. And all you have to do is change the litter and put some food, you know, and go on vacation if you want to for 2 weeks. And it's right, it's just not the case. And so to really provide care, quality care, especially, so Gracie is getting older, right? I mean, when I say she's getting older, she's an old lady, okay? She demands things a certain way at a certain time. And, but we're very careful, Kim and I are, to observe and make sure that we see the changes in behavior or anything else that may be going on with her that might be and impact her health. And so I think as a parent, it's no different than with a child or with any other pet. You have to be present and you have to be prepared to provide that care, because they are as much in need of it as any other pet or child.
Great comment. Is that too hard to follow up? I mean, that was,
I'll jump in quick, be real quick. I mean, I do think some people actually believe cats have 9 lives, and so they don't have to worry about matters until you're down to 1. It's odd, but I also think cats are smart, namely when they've complained, like an abscessed tooth is always the example I use. If they don't get the response, I mean, ultimately, if their owner or pet parent, whatever nomenclature, doesn't do something about it, I don't think, they're not stupid. They're not going to yell for the rest of their life. They're just going to say, evidently the help doesn't understand the reason, and that I have a tooth that's a constant sort. And so they go quiet. And it's almost like they heal themselves. And it's silly, but it's an issue. Obviously, and everybody can speak to this and should speak to it, there is the way we deliver care to cats and dogs right now is equal. I mean, it is similar. I shouldn't say equal. It's identical. It shouldn't be. You know, dogs, you put a leash on a dog. I've had many dogs. They can't wait to go where they're going. Even if they think they're going to a vet, they'll go with you. They'll hop in, they'll go into the clinic, they'll continue their path and get back in your car and go home. A cat knows what's going on when that crate shows up. Nothing good's going to happen. A cat's not going to walk out and go, "Oh, great, please. You know, prison sounds great to me. You know, let's go. Let me go have 40 minutes of pain in the car and then have things done to me by strangers, and can't wait. Could we do it tomorrow? You know, let's make this a daily thing." So we need to deliver care to cats differently. I know Jane's worked so much on this. It's just understanding that why would we treat these 2 species that ironically occupy about the same amount of space in America, 90 million pet cats, 90 million pet dogs. I mean, that's just a pure coincidence. It's a fascinating coincidence of that number that we believe to be true is true. And the data says it is true. And how that happened is just, to me, amusing that they're the same number, but we feel like each is supposed to get medical care the same way. And I think we're working on and have different delivery systems out there, but I think we have to figure out how to take medical care to cats, because they don't want it the same way dogs take it. I'll just leave it at that.
No,
So-
you bring up a really interesting point there, Mark, and I think that's a good segue not only into some of the other conversations we have going on this week for Feline Health Week, but also type kind of part 3 of how we envision this particular conversation going, and that's like some of the initiatives that are happening in the profession. You know, and feel free, and you know, Julie, if you've got anything with Wynn you want to talk about, or you know, Jane, you have a particular favorite, feel free and speak up about the initiatives that are happening now that you believe can actually help to propel us forward faster. And, you know, also some of the things that we need to band together to do a little bit more. So Catherine just shows we've got 5 minutes left in the normal part of the conversation, but as you guys who've been here know, we can carry on for the after party after that 5 minutes is up. So don't let that 5 scare you away just yet. Anyway, not yet. So, but truly, I mean, there's some really good initiatives, but we still have, and we're going to talk about the data tomorrow night that indicates there is still opportunity. I don't want to say a problem, but there is still opportunity to make a difference in the lives of so many cats. So, you know, what do we feel is really working well? What do we feel we need to work on a little more?
Well, I'm excited about the opportunities, and I want to pick up on what Mark said. You know, those of us who have cats and don't have our own veterinary clinics, we have to take them into other people's clinics, and it's not a pleasant thing. You know, it's stressful for my guys when they've got to go in. I know it's necessary, and we've got to do that. So finding different ways to provide that care and get cats the attention that they need, I just think there's a whole world of opportunity here. And whether it's with connected care, telehealth, telemedicine, virtual, this or whatever, I just see so much opportunity here, because absent that, there are a lot of cats that are just not getting any sort of regular care at all. I know even in my case, where I've had, you know, a combination of regular recurrent care, but also some emergency or at least urgent type of care, there's a great deal of stress that it causes me, not just the cat, because I know I've got to get the, you know, and I think I'm pretty, you know, savvy about getting the carriers out, you know, the day before we got to do something, so they get used to them. But still, and understanding the stress that it puts them through is stressful for me too. So finding alternative ways to do that, I think, is a great opportunity and untapped potential.
Yeah, so building on that a little bit, Andy, yes, virtual connections, just like we are now in a lot of ways. But if you think about what we said at the beginning, that people don't think their cat needs care or that they're not ill. So how do we engage the people first and have that connection before we make people shove them in a box and drive them to the veterinary clinic if they're going to? But I think the opportunities with technology today are enormous. I've seen more and more mobile practices, and I mean, look at Fuzzy Vet, and that's a whole new business model. So I'm glad that you said, you know, thinking about it differently and not just this is how we do it in dogs. Now, how are we gonna do it for cats? How are we gonna use this for cats?
And I agree. I don't think that cats have not been the focus. It's been dogs. And even if we know that there's feline heartworm out there, how many veterinarians promote or, you know, screen them for feline heartworm? Not many. And they're scared to do it. We as a profession in the corporate world and everywhere else, we have not given the opportunity to focus on the kitties. And, you know, we can see that within WIN too. You know, we get lots of grant proposals that come in, but not nearly the concentration that we should. There's money out there. There's many donors that we have money, but when you're looking at 45 proposals that come in twice a year, you know, what are we doing and what are we saying about how important the cats are?
Excellent point,
You
Julie.
mean because you can't fund all of them, or would it-
I
Yeah.
can't understand.
I'll ask Jane Jane, you froze up a little bit. Would you repeat that? Do you mind? Those darn
You may
hotel
have-
connections.
just may have already answered that there's more is needed. I guess that's the summary, is more is needed.
More is
And
needed.
and there is a lot that's coming. So
There is a lot that's coming. And just so you guys know, Win is holding a international
Oh, now
speaker
you're breaking up there,
at
Julie.
UC Davis. Some of you are on my invite. Now can you hear me?
Now again, you're like your words are like that.
International.
Sorry.
It sounds like Julie's having a great party in Minnesota. It's
I
like, you know, we ought to be there, but
I want to go to that fire pit.
That's number 9 of wine. So an international symposium at UC Davis.
We have international speakers. Can you understand me now?
Yeah.
International speakers coming in November to UC Davis for an FIP conference or symposium. And it's bringing all of the experts within this area together to, most of it's going to be roundtables. So I guess I'm not being heard again.
That's
Julie, would you put it in the chat like when this is? Because I think that's kind of important.
Yeah. Well, she did say that everybody here is getting an invitation, so I kind of feel like she's being Oprah right now. You get an invitation, and you get an
And
invitation.
you get an invitation.
hey, Natalie,
Exactly, to make it
are
different.
either of the cats close enough I could hold them?
He's
You
like,
brought him
Mark's
up.
feeling jealous.
Hey,
I gotta show up.
Mark, we got to
I
do the
would
which
love that.
Oscar.
It'd just
We
be
gotta-
fun.
Mark and I have to do the which Oscar is bigger.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
and I will say that I'm upset, but she's on a boat, so I'm not going to be picking on her too bad. But usually Diane's cat is always walking past the camera, and we're missing it tonight. So
oh,
I've got one. I've got a cat.
Oh,
One of my cats is coming up. No, I just summoned them. We'll see if they listen.
So here's what I love the most about this conversation. Well, number one, I love what Catherine and I do at the Bridge Club because this is what it brings out in people. We are having a serious conversation about feline health. And the biggest thing is like, let's see whose cat's cuter than the other one, right? I mean, it's like, I love how the humanity comes out and we get to see what's really important. That's kind of fun.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Showing
2
off.
of them. Oh, a sweet calico.
This is, make sure I'm not muted here.
Nope, you're not.
You're good. You're good.
Here,
This is the Upper East Side Manhattan Chloe. She's a princess. And as long as I'm doing something she enjoys, she might stay here the rest of the conversation. Oscar would need to have a cheeseburger in front of him and he'd hang for that. But anyway,
That's
But-
awesome.
Chloe, she's quite a pretty cat. I have to give her a little bit
Oh
of,
my gosh. Yes.
Oh, she is gorgeous.
Yeah.
but I don't think she likes.
Pulling a Kardashian and just showing us her backside there for a while.
No. She's as cute as it gets. She's a beauty. But I'll just let her. Anyway.
She is really fun.
Anyway.
So, not to discount how cute Mark's cats are, but I do want to just make sure that we do have an opportunity. We are getting to the end of our regular time, but would love to have anybody who can stay on, continue this conversation for a little bit, because I really would like to give you guys the opportunity. And Catherine and I feel this is incredibly important to talk about the programs that we believe are making a difference, and do any quick little brainstorming on what more we feel priorities should be put against. And I think, Julie, thank you for sharing about FIP, which continues to be an issue. And thank you too for sharing about the fact that there is grant money available and people are not asking for it, because what better way to find solutions to the problem than to have some, really bright people put forward some really good proposals for research and insight. So I don't know, Catherine, you may have some key takeaways so far too, but those are things that I'm just like, wow, guys, there's opportunity galore. We just have to find the right people to go out and grab it.
Well, so it's funny because as I'm listening to all this and I'm going through and it was actually Andy that kind of brought it up about this idea that can cats lead the way in connected care? So I think in headlines, and I'm thinking that's a a
Yeah,
headline
good one.
right there. But then I was curious because now I'm feeling a little naive. You know, has this putting cats at the center of connected care, has that occurred, or is it the idea that we just automatically went to dogs first? Because I know, like a lot of the telemedicine companies, we had a great opportunity when we were at Fetch. We saw AirVet live in action, and it was with a dog that's ear had been bitten off, right? So we got to see, you know, Dr. Werber actually have a conversation helping a pet owner with their dog. But I feel like all of the experiences from the fear-free that we've heard about previously and what we've got coming up this week, am I really naive in this? I mean, or is this what we should be pushing?
I think you're seeing it start to happen. I know what we're involved with Lincoln Memorial University is a pilot. You know, let's remember the sheltering community. And so students rotating through their rotation will set up a virtual care.
Breaking up on my end. I don't know if everyone else is facing the same thing.
I know what she's saying. Lincoln Memorial has a program.
An adopted cat, and I think
We're getting there.
and then execute that.
Ralph is looking so hard he can't stand it.
Other veterinary programs.
So I'm going to summarize what Jane just said. Lincoln Memorial University has a program, student rotation.
Starting.
Yeah. Okay. The student rotation where it's a shelter medicine program, where it's a virtual care centric program that is going to have a feline focus on it. So that's summarizing all what she said so much more eloquently than I did, but cool program, right? I mean, right there is a great opportunity to introduce students right off the bat to the importance of feline care. So as they go out into practice, they can do. I summarized, Jane, some of what you were saying there for us.
Thank you. And also working with shelters and locally in your own community or on different levels to try and, I mean, that's where so many of the cats are coming from. The largest single group of organizations that it's a purpose, people are doing it on purpose, just like Andy did. And you know, to think that you could work together with that community to make that path toward lifelong care be successful. So we've been doing that with Ralph's help in Metro Denver with the Dumb Friends League and other shelters there with Catalyst Connection, and trying to make that happen starting at the point of adoption and then having that conversation. And now if we have an opportunity to layer in a virtual visit first, wouldn't that be cool? So again, making that connection early on and then impacting the cats as they go into homes.
In fact, on Thursday evening, 7 p.m. Central Time, there's going to be a conversation hosted by Jane and April Steele talking specifically about that Catalyst Connection and how it has worked in Denver too. So if anybody is interested in listening to that, I mean, there's huge potential to take similar programs, make similar programs happen across the country. And how cool would that be, right? To use that as a model and take advantage of its success and learn from it and help it happen in places, you know, like DC and in Scottsdale and in Kansas City and all kinds of other areas too. I would cheer for that one.
You know, as the case is made, and I'm going to speak, even though I'm not on the manufacturing side anymore. To take the pharmaceutical companies, or maybe I'm not. I have not been in nutrition, but there's a financial incentive. There's a reason things have moved towards canines, and it's not accidental. It's all driven by financials.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of it. Some of it may be emotional, but primarily when you sit in a room, you start looking at it, it's driven by the financials. So how do you make a financial case for the care of cats? And there is a huge financial case to make. It's just that I don't think that it's fully been put together. And so from a manufacturer's point of view, it's everything from discovery all the way through to the manufacturing, marketing, and sales of these products. And so, you know, that I think that is an enormous component that gets overlooked. And it's not how much do we care, nobody really cares, but if people aren't willing to pay, then how much we care is going to get pushed aside. So we have to be, I think, as an industry, be prepared to prospective pet parents to make a financial case, and then also to manufacturers make a financial case, to veterinarians that are in practice make a financial case why cats are important to their practice. Because there are a lot of practices willing to just make their money and their living treating dogs.
You know, Craig, you make a great point, Craig, and I think it's a trend in veterinary medicine, and I'm not a veterinarian, but I've been involved full time for nearly 15 years. Veterinarians look in the rearview mirror more than the front, and they look back and they see the model, and they make money on dogs and so forth. What they don't understand, and it's going to overwhelm them, but it's an opportunity that they should love to be overwhelmed by, namely this: millennials want human scale, human level healthcare for their pets. And millennials own cats and dogs. And they don't want to be told that, well, basically we do this for dogs, and good luck getting your cat in here, and we'll see what we can do. And, you know, and we don't really have a mechanism, virtual or otherwise, to treat your cat's needs. That answer isn't going to work for probably another month, even, let alone another week. And I think you're going to see the profession challenged and respond, and Jane could cite probably 1,000 examples, I hope that she could, or 100 at least, where veterinarians, like in Scottsdale, we take our cats to Scaredy Cat Hospital. I love that. I went there for the name. I thought, what a great name. And it's just, you walk in and there's 5 cats that are owned by the vets just hanging around. And it's like they're just, you know, chewing gum, looking at you, going, welcome, come on in. You know, I mean, just a whole different environment. And I know there's lots of those around, and there's more mobile practices, as you say, Jane, but I think cats are going to push practices, because why wouldn't you turn and look and see, of 90 million cats, maybe only 30 million getting regular care, and go, wait a second, that 60 million number is a pretty good number, particularly millennials that are going to pay whatever they need to pay to get good care for their cats. And they're not going to believe that somehow dogs are healthy, or cats are healthier than dogs and don't need care. So I think it's going to work out. If we did this call in 10 years, I think we'll be surprised how cats push veterinarians to new levels of service delivery. I guess that's my message.
You know, Mark, I fully agree. And one of the things that I will say, and I was talking earlier about the, I don't know if it's a lack of understanding on the part of pet owners, or the lack of education, or what it is, but people, it just, and I have no data to support it, it's just an opinion, that there seems to be a lack of involvement on the part of pet owners and pet parents that have cats in their health care compared to dogs. And I don't know why that is. I don't know because I spend a lot of time with Gracie, and I always have. And so when I saw a change in behavior, to me, it meant, well, there's probably something wrong, you know, and it may be that I've been gone too much, and it may be that that there's a medical issue, but just that involvement and observation and understanding and awareness that you have to be involved with your pet, regardless of whether it's a dog or a cat. You have to be involved, and that involvement you'll gain understanding. And from that understanding, probably you'll figure out that, hey, there's some medical issues here, something that, we need to go. And we just had one not long ago where just through observation, it was, wow, you know what, we need to go see the doctor. And we went to the doctor, and sure enough, there was an issue. So, but I think that awareness and education and understanding is lacking. And I don't know why. I don't know why it ended up going like this, and there seems to be so much attention on dogs and less on cats. Part of it may be their personality and, you know, being different from dogs and more independent, but
sometimes it's because the veterinarian and their staff are not paying attention to cats the way that they do dogs. I mean, as a feline practitioner, I owned 2 cat hospitals. I mean, we would get clients all the time that came from dog and cat general small animal practices because all the attention was paid on the dogs. And the veterinarians did not pay the attention medically to the cat. And even more importantly, they didn't teach and educate the owners what that cat needed, you know, whether it was heartworm prevention, whether it was treating it for house soiling, cystitis, whatever. I mean, where are people going to get that information if it's not from our profession?
Really good point, Tammy. And obviously you and Diane and Jane have been quite successful at having feline-centric practices and filling that need. So there's no argument for the fact that a veterinarian can't make a nice living and have a successful practice, you know, focusing on cats. So a lot of great information. Craig, I thought what you said was very profound about, you know, the involvement, observation, understanding, and awareness. That's, you know, kind of really gets down to the crux of understanding and watching for what's going on with your cat's health. Wow, that felt profound to me anyway, so I wrote it down. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, call out to American Association of Feline Practitioners, because when you think of the resources, the evidence-based information in all the guidelines that get updated, and I think for me, you know, the biggest impact can come. Diabetes is important. Kidney disease is enormously important. FIP is devastating. And when you think about where do we need to make wholesale change, it's on that basic wellness and understanding what cats need. So things like environment enrichment and making sure that people know how to handle cats, how to greet cats. And you guys all know it intuitively, if not academically as well, that cats get threatened. So that's why you have to kind of make yourself smaller and talk slowly and put your finger those nuances that make them special creatures. And I also think there's an opportunity for learn to talk to a cat and it will make you a better.
Well, that was profound, even though she didn't get a chance to finish it. I thought that was pretty good. That was great.
Well, we did just have Dr. Natalie Marks talk specifically about learning how to talk cat. And so she goes through that in our last session that we just had. She did an amazing job. I think I'm hung on the fact that, and it's something that Craig said, and I think Craig is absolutely right. It is all about the money. Where's the money? And I'm racking my brain right now saying, has there ever been an initiative in the profession that the actual profession drove forward versus the manufacturers? Because I wonder, is there some sort of, and Craig's shaking his head. So I just, in all these years, I just wondered if the profession has ever taken a hold of something and they made it a reality versus it having to have the big money to support it, because corporations aren't going to support it unless it's going to benefit them.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Craig, I'm not aware of anything.
Nothing that's feline specific and
well, I meant anything. Has the profession ever taken anything and it came from the practice level that changed everything else? Because if we could get at the practice level and drive this, you know, if we could get them to understand the financial scenario to it, and that it is there's the cash cow, you know, that this is.
I think the manufacturers want to be at the table. I mean, that's my personal opinion. Okay, that they want to be at the table because they there's benefit to. Now, whether they are or not is a totally different decision, and if it can be done without the manufacturers, that's even better. But some type of a what is the potential financial impact of when you start rolling through all of the elements of of medicine for felines in this industry,
Yeah.
what would be what's the financial impact? And this maybe gets really way off the subject, but everything from the materials that are needed to build the facilities for the research projects, all the way through to the products themselves. Okay, so there's this whole linear chain that goes from the beginning to the very end, and it is an industry that to me is completely sort of broken and segmented, and it's parsed out and sort of shoved into, well, we're doing this canine project, so let's do a feline project and slap it along with it. And there's a lot of that happens on and I don't know if it happens on the practice side. I'm just now starting to get into that, but I'm finding that where I am, the dogs drive the business.
They do.
Interesting. So I want to be cognizant of everybody's time here. This has been so interesting. I really thank everyone for taking time to join us. I mean, we are at 7:48 and happy to keep the conversation going, but we understand that we usually promise 25 to 45 minutes, and we're kind of at that point now, but it's been so much to think about here. And this is exactly what I think Catherine and I had hoped with kicking Feline Health Week off, is to set up the desire to make a difference, the need to make a difference, to the fact that there is opportunity in feline health. And if we can keep these conversations going, we're going to strike upon some things that work, not with everybody. I mean, I think those of us who are here involved with Partners for Healthy Pets saw how much time and energy and effort was put into trying to get the practices to drive preventive care. And in some practices, it worked fabulously. In some practices, it didn't even get a moment's attention. So the reality is we're not going to impact everybody. But if we can keep having conversations like this and impact some practices, impact some cats and some pet owners, then we're at least moving in the right direction. So,
Brenda, could I throw out an idea that'll cause folks to groan and guffaw and wonder what I'm thinking about? But I think it's true. And full disclosure, Mars has been a long-term client of mine, so I've done a lot of work on the corporate side. In the last 5 years, we've gone from 5 to 55 corporate practice groups. When I say corporate, I mean Wall Street, private equity, outside investment, people that looked at the pet industry and said, I want to invest in pet healthcare. And nobody here has to say that their motives were, quote, to care for animals. I'm not going to sing that song. I'm just telling you, the decision was made. That was a really smart place to take money from every other sector of the economy and go, I'm going to invest in pet healthcare. Those people, those groups are not going to look at the numbers and say 70% of veterinary revenue is from dogs, not cats, and say that makes sense. They're not going to take that number. They're not going to look backwards and go, that's the way it's always been. Guess that's the way it's going to be. They're going to say, excuse me, but we have a cat. My friends have cats. My kids have cats. Cats have the same organs as dogs. They live in even a little bit longer, but not much longer necessarily. Why would we not treat that with the same? So I'm actually going to say that, what's going to get laughed at, but I believe the corporate veterinary medicine will probably have more impact on feline care than anything else, because they're going to understand that's an untapped market that's sitting there, and there's no rational reason why cats should have less wellness, less specialty care, nutrition, you name it. And I think we'll see changes, but I don't think it's going to, quote, come from the profession. It's not going to be husband and wife practice my age going, now why don't we just change right now and start focusing mainly on cats? They're not going to do it. And they may not think there is a need to, but I'm very optimistic, because I think it's going to come from different market dynamics and millennial pet ownership that will demand it. And I think the professional will rise up, and Andy's students from all of his veterinary medical colleges will say, sure, sign me up. Let me deliver that. What do you think, Andy?
Well, the advantage that, sorry, real quick, and is they're at the local level, right? So they know their populations. If they've got a dog owner that has 3 or 4 cats, or they have one cat owner that comes in and they know that cat owner has 6 more cats at home. So that's how it's going to change. So I agree with you, and I think that's how you get the profession to move forward. I think that's actually brilliant. Sorry, Andy.
All right, Ralph's going to say
Ralph has
something.
a comment, yes.
Ralph's jumping in.
This is just an observation on Mr. Cushing's comment. And I'm so glad you clarified, by the way, that for a while when you were talking at the beginning, I wasn't sure that the description of the Upper East Side Princess and Class Clown was connected to your cats.
Ralph,
Okay.
Ralph, it takes you 30 minutes sometimes, but you finally see the light. I appreciate that.
So, on the comment about the number of corporate entities and the way that they might view cats, I agree with you, and I think it couples with, the individual, the independent practice owners. They're solving medical problems. They are not drawn to solving economic problems, and that's an asset that the corporate entities get and have. This really struck me at the Banfield Summit on the issues and questions that team is thinking about, the resources that they're able to develop, and the understanding of change leadership that they have, and how that all comes together to translate a good idea about care delivery, whether it's to a diverse set of clients or any number of things that they work on, and be able to translate that into action within the practice. Sorry. And the solo practice out there, does not have those resources to kind of implement things or think about things in the same way. It's a very different ecosystem. So I see that as an attribute of the corporate entities, and hopefully they will do some modeling and make some tools available to their colleagues in independent practice as well.
That's an excellent point, Ralph.
It's a tough gig, I think.
Yeah.
I would add to that, and what I would say is that imagine this: if the Ritz-Carlton people were building feline practices, they would look differently. If Singapore Airlines were doing this, it would look differently. If Rolls-Royce were doing this business, it would look a little different. So I think Mark's got something there, that these models may emerge from corporate entities with that have some capability to bring in designers and other types of people who will look at this from the animal and client experience. And they'll say, oh, yeah, cats are different from dogs. They have different needs. And it'll incorporate fear-free and HABRI and these types of things. But I think if you can make that experience for both the client and the animal as stress-free and frankly, even pleasant. I mean, who knows, Mark, maybe there will be a day when the cats are lining up at the door saying, wow, I can't wait to go back and see my veterinarian. It was the coolest thing ever.
I think that's a really great way to end what's been a really phenomenal bridge club. We're 7:55 right now. So we generally begin with a toast. Thank you, Jane, for giving the starting toast. And we always like to end with a little bit of a toast too.
So Craig, you got to pick up your glass again.
So exactly. So is there anyone who would like to volunteer who has that last final poignant thought to help us go off into the rest of our evening? Anybody want to step forward?
I think it's on you, Brenda.
All right, well, golly, I'll do it then, I suppose. So seriously, really appreciate everybody gathering together tonight to talk about what's really an important topic in our profession, and for bringing all these smart minds together to have a fun and engaging and really important conversation about feline healthcare. So here's to all of you for all you do and for taking a little bit of time to spend with us. Cheers.
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 That's awesome. What a fun convo.
Some of you guys tomorrow.
See you in St. Louis, Andy.
See you guys later.
Catherine, see you in Denver or Fort
Yes,
Collins.
we're connected. We're going to talk.
All right, very good.
All right, see you guys later.
Thanks, Catherine and everybody. Great job.